Well, that's the voice of former First Minister, former leader of the DUP, Arlene Foster, saying farewell to a political career in the Assembly in Stormont on Monday. At 50 years of age, she's now facing a change of career, albeit one that is forced upon her. But perhaps you too feel it's time for a change. Have you enjoyed your work in the past year? Has COVID prompted you to try to reimagine yourself? Do you, like Arlene, relish the prospect of spending more time with the family? Well, can you do it? How can it be done? Managing Director of FutureWise, Peter Cosgrove, joins us now. Peter, good morning.
Good morning, Pat.
You're 50 years of age, as in the case of Arlene, and it's been forced upon her, but she's got to find something new to do. How difficult is it for people who want to change midstream?
It is more difficult than people think, and there's a few reasons for it. Bizarrely, it's actually much easier when it's forced upon you. So you find out a lot of people who make a major change, you often see that there was something in their personal life that might have changed, or actually it was forced on them from maybe redundancy, or the company decided to move out of Ireland or something like that. But actually, for people who are in a solid job here, or what other people would see as a dependable job, the worst thing you can often do is speak to your colleagues or your friends, because they're saying, don't do it, you've got a good job. So you've really got to take stock and ask yourself the question. Firstly, we've obviously been through a very rough 18 months. Are you unhappy in your job, and you have been for a long time, or is it just a temporary situation with COVID? And if it's a COVID situation, you might want to hold off just for a while until you get back to the office. But if it is something bigger, we need to actually stop kind of looking at all these reasons we don't do it, like, I won't have any money, I won't know what to do, I'm too old, because all of these are reasons that we can't do it. But there's many, many examples of people who, well past 50, have changed careers. And the key thing I say to anybody, it's very rare to meet somebody who has moved careers who've actually said it's a big mistake. People generally are always happier and more, and feel like it was a great decision afterwards.
Yeah. Is it easier if you know what you want to do? I mean, there are many people out there who hate going to work every day, even if they're working in their own kitchen table at the moment, but they just hate the work that they have to do. If they know what they want to do, is that easier than if they just want to do something else, whatever that might be?
It is, Pat, but honestly, most people who are working at the moment out there still don't know what they want to do. So in the meantime, they have a job, and that's the challenge. And for a lot of people, those jobs are okay. Some people love them. A lot of people are somewhere in the middle, and then we've the people who really dislike what they do. The challenge is, if you can find something else that you want to do by thinking about it, it's a great start, you think, but actually you have to start doing things. So when you actually start acting, so for instance, in your personal life, joining a few, committees or things like that, or in your work life, actually getting involved, if you're in the sales team, getting involved in marketing or taking on extra responsibilities, it's only through doing other things that you actually immediately start to realize, God, I really don't like this and I really like that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you need to actually find out what you're good at. Now, a lot of people think, well, I know what I'm good at, this is my job, but they very much link their skills to what they do. But for instance, some people are better with people, and other people will tell them this. Some people are good at crosswords, they might be more analytical. Some people are passionate about gardening and nature, and they might work better, outdoors. And actually, we completely underestimate the amount of skills and strengths we have, because we very much say, well, I'm a data analyst in this technology company and that's what I do. Whereas actually, it's often, if you are going to speak to your friends, where they can be very good is telling you all the things you're great at that you just take for granted.
Now, the gig economy, as it's called, is very prevalent among young workers. And perhaps when they get older, they'll find it easier to change because they are constantly changing at the moment. What about the older working cohort who haven't experience of the gig economy? Do they have to get used to the idea that permanent pensionable is not necessarily the future they would have if they change jobs?
Yeah, they absolutely do. I mean, you only have to look at the world. You can see it everywhere you look. The world of banking or the next generation are all using kind of, either cryptocurrencies or they're using Revolut accounts, and they're moving away from traditional models. It doesn't mean they're not there anymore, but you can see when it comes to technology, we're moving from combustion cars to electric cars and soon driverless cars. So all of these changes, which are happening much quicker than they have before, are absolutely impacting on jobs much quicker than ever before. So the only thing you can do, even at the age of 55, is continue to upskill yourself, continue to learn, continue to get yourself involved in other things, because these ideas of I'm going to hang in here for as long as I can might work for you, but actually two things will happen. One, you might continue there for the next 15 years unhappy. And what I always say to people is, working, your life at work, if you're not happy with it, it has huge detrimental impacts on other things like your personal life, your health, your self-esteem. So there's many other reasons that it's just financial, it's other things. But I think everybody needs to realize that it could happen so quickly that through external forces like a Brexit or internal forces like technology or artificial intelligence, that within 2 years, not 20 years, somebody could be saying this job's no longer going to be here anymore. And this is the time to be considering it, not in 2 years when you get that news.
Yeah, now there's also the person who'll take a redundancy package and say, I've always wanted to set up a coffee shop, because they think there's a great margin in coffee and so on. And that could be a disaster or it could be a success, but there's a great rate of attrition in coffee shops.
Absolutely. So I'm not saying, what I would say to anybody in that situation is before you, so back to acting, before you set up a coffee shop, work in a coffee shop. You work in a coffee shop for 6 months and you suddenly realize, actually, you know what? I really like the idea of a coffee shop, but now when I'm working there and I see dealing with the customers, I don't like as much, or, all the actually finance and the accountancy piece, I really don't like that. And actually, this isn't for me. So what people do is you shouldn't be going from one extreme to the other. And that's what I'm saying. By acting in certain things, there's a simple way to find out if you want to work in a coffee shop or own one is by working in it, because that's your way of seeing it. So when people are moving to these different areas, try it first. And that does mean potentially putting yourself out there and looking at new things. But people will do that. And when you find then something like a coffee shop that you really enjoy, you might actually go, well, you know what, maybe I don't want to actually own one, but actually there might be something that I might want to invest a little bit in one or something else like that. Or maybe it's the coffee I really enjoy. And maybe there's a job for me in this whole area of coffee, but it doesn't necessarily need to be in the retail environment.
Well, some encouraging stuff coming on the tech screen. I stayed at home for 20 years raising my family, went back to do a course, and I've had a new career in media. Best decision I ever made. I would urge anyone who's been thinking about it, just go ahead and do it. Another one says, I'd love to change careers. I never really enjoyed my mundane office job, but the last year has made me surer than ever. However, I have a mortgage and kids. How can I go back to the start? I'm in my mid-40s. Positive one here now. I'm sitting my last exam of an accounting technician diploma today at 10 o'clock at the ripe old age of 46. Who knows? I may even begin accountancy in September. It's never too late to learn and to change. Wish me luck. Well, good luck to you. Return to college to become a teacher this year. I love it despite COVID and all the teacher bashing. I was made redundant in 2015 from financial services. Went back to college at 37. Now competing a master's in clinical psychology and hope to complete a doctorate in clinical psychology later. I will be nearly 50 at that stage, but I figured I'm going to turn 50 anyway, so I might as well have a doctorate as well. That's from Carol. I worked in the civil service for over 30 years, worked in so many interesting areas. However, gardening was always my passion. In my late 40s with grown-up children, I took a career break, studied in the Botanic Gardens and lived my dream. I've met so many people and made friends with others who share my passion. Taking a huge drop in pay, I've worked in 3 garden centres and have designed gardens. It's heaven. Go for it, says Linda in Castleknock. So that's all great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah,
with the exception
and
of the
what's
person
interesting
who's
there
got to pay the mortgage.
the first one first was the person saying, I'll never change now, I've got a mortgage and kids. The first thing I'd say is lots of people have had a job taken away from them and they've a mortgage and kids. And if you talk to them 2 years later, they've survived. It does mean there's challenges for them, but the point is it can happen. The difference is if you're going to do it yourself is you get to manage the process. So do not say to yourself, it is not possible, because loads and loads of examples say it is possible. And then most of the other texts are really positive, which come down to 2 things. One is learning. People are looking at new things, trying new things, and they're opening up their experiences, because the moment you start maybe studying something different, you also build up a whole new different network of people who kind of open up your mind to what the possibilities are. And then the last comment around that is this whole idea of, money. We always think money is the most important thing, but actually, we're seeing people out there who are saying they're changing jobs, maybe making less money, but so much happier than they ever were. And actually, you've got to kind of think about longer term. Absolutely, we need a certain amount of money to live, but actually we aren't very good sometimes at actually looking at the amount of money we actually do live versus how much we want. And I think that's a real challenge for all of us when we're looking at any sort of career change.